Welcome to Insights, everyone. I am Nnamdi Odipo. By February 26, 2020, Nigeria had no single case of COVID-19. But then came the next day, February 27, and Nigeria recorded its first confirmed positive case of coronavirus. It's been nearly 3 months since then, and what started as a single case became a trickle and threatened to become a flood if not stopped. As the number of cases steadily increased, so also the number of states in the country with cases, of course. We'll be looking at what it means for the states impacted, but more importantly, how 2 states in Nigeria have managed to stay COVID-19 free. We'll also be looking at how families are contending with the changing times occasioned by the pandemic. As usual, my colleague Elizabeth Omori is here with the media review segment. Elizabeth?
Well, it's good to be here again. On the media review segment this week, there's going to be a little twist. Now, culture is dynamic. Languages play important role in nation building. Our focus will be on public sensitization by the media, using indigenous language to relate to the people in the grassroots, the dangers of COVID-19. Have indigenous languages been able to let people know that this disease in question is real? That will be our focus on the media review segment.
That will make for an interesting discourse. I mean, journalists have done so much in sensitizing the populace on COVID-19, and they continue to do so. But for now, let's begin with our discussion on the COVID-19 free states in Nigeria. Well, if you do not know it yet, then know this. There are 2 COVID-19 free states in Nigeria as at Monday, May 11, 2020. And they are 1, the North Central state of Kogi, and 2 is Cross River State in South Nigeria. I had 2 top officials from these 2 states join me earlier, and they both spoke on what it means to be COVID-19 free and what preparations are on stream to mitigate impact in the event of likely infections. Commissioner for Health, Cross River State, Dr. Betta Edu, and Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, Kingsley Farwell, I want to welcome you both to Insight. You both share the rather unique status of being COVID-19 free as at Monday, May 11, 2020. Is that a function of optimal management of your window of opportunity to prepare as the number of infections grow across states? Dr. Edu, I would like to begin with you, please, because I know that Cross River State has never implemented a shelter-in-place directive since the corona pandemic hit Nigeria.
So basically, it's been a lot of work across the state thus far. We started very, very early. Thankfully, most of our preventive measures have paid off. If you can recall very well, we started as early as January. We set up the EOC, which is the Emergency Operations Center, in Calabar, Cross River State, and we brought in professionals, we brought in the medics, paramedics, military, and indeed everybody who we felt was a key stakeholder in this business, and we started working on prevention. I'm sure you remember we're one of the first states in Nigeria that did a lot of sensitization at rural areas. We did a lot of work with chiefs, community leaders, religious leaders to see that we can continue to send this message across. If you remember clearly, Cross River State was the very first state in Nigeria that started screening people who came in through our local airport. At this time, no case was recorded in Nigeria, no case was recorded in Africa, but we felt it was the right thing to do. I'm sure if you can recall, we were also the very first state in Nigeria that shut its borders to people from coming in both at the international angle, that's for Cameroon, and then of course other states like Akwa Ibom, Abia State, Ebonyi, Benue, and the rest of them. We shut our borders from people coming into our state. And so this is these were the different measures which we put in place to see that we can protect our people. and this has paid off for us. I'm sure you remember we're also the first state in the country that started the no mask, no movement.
Yes,
And
very true.
at that point, Nigeria felt it was quite strange. Nigeria felt it was quite strange, and so it is not what we should be doing at that particular point in time. Of course, I remember clearly the PTF and the others said no, the mask should just be for health workers. Every other person can go on without the mask and all of that. But
I would interrupt you here, Dr. Edu, and I would like to move over to the Information Commissioner, Kogi State. I would, Honorable Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, are your experiences similar to that of Cross River State, or perhaps you have done things differently to get you to where you are currently?
So, what our experience is quite similar to what Cross River State did. We embarked on aggressive sensitization of people right from the grassroots level. To us, the knowledge we have about this pandemic is that we must give ownership and responsibility to the people. It is not about locking down the economy, locking down social activities and all that. But the people must know their responsibilities. They must know the rest. For their personal hygiene and all that, to enable the people to understand what they need to do.
Fantastic. Dr. Edu, if you're still there with us, please, I would like to, please step in here and tell me at what point your state will be willing to conduct testing for COVID-19. Or is that already in the works?
We have been conducting testing, but we don't have the test lab in Cross River. We have the sample kit, and we have been taking samples, and we'll be sending these samples to Irua and Ebonyi State. But right now, we've been told that our own lab in Irua is been a very difficult process for us because it takes almost 24 hours for samples to go from Cross River State to Irua, which is in a dual state with a lockdown. But we've been doing it, so we've been testing persons who meet the criteria or who come up with signs and symptoms. We test them, we send them to the lab, and we'll continue to do so. So for us, case sample collection is what we've been doing, and we'll continue to do when cases present themselves. All the samples we have sent to the lab have come back negative. We do have a lab in Washington State, the lab in the and in Ebonyi State, and so the testings were done there, and the results were given to us, and the results are negative. We will continue to do this as we progress. Don't find people who need the criteria.
Honorable Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, I read your comments on the quarantine directive by the Kogi State Governor to the NCDC team, which visited your states last week. In fact, it's generated some sort of I don't know, back and forth between the state's Kogi State government and NCDC. Some would say you are overtly confident in your quest to stay COVID-19 free. Are you perhaps considering conducting your own test in your own time?
Yeah, definitely. We've been sending samples to Abuja. NCDC is aware that they've been working on a lot of samples from Kogi State. All the samples sent have all tested negative, but we are also going to unveil our isolation centers and containment centers today, and our kits are also readily available in the state. So we are going to consider that very strongly because we are fine to that process.
Madam Commissioner, your boss, your principal blazed, and you've just mentioned that a couple of minutes ago, blazed the trail with the no mask, no movement directive. However, we have been getting some feelers from your state that enforcement may have waned significantly for that matter. Is that true? Please also give us an update on the closure of the Bridge boundary with Akwa Ibom State.
Okay, so basically the no mask, no movement, like we said, started in Cross River State, and it's one of the preventive measures we put on board to see that we can continue to keep this virus out of our DSG, and it's still ongoing. Over 1.2 million masks have been produced. and have been given out to citizens free of charge in Cross River State. There is a task force in the urban areas and in fact in some rural areas that have been enforcing to see that people use the mask. The compliance has been at different degrees in different areas. So in urban areas, we have close to 90% compliance, but in the rural areas, it's a little below that. And we want to see that we can continue to step up this task force enforcement across board. We'll set up mobile courts that will help us to try persons who do not use their mask, because we believe if you don't do so, it's not in the interest of the public. And of course, our law does not allow you to do that when you're not using your mask, who put another person at risk. Like I said, the House of Assembly in Cross River State has recently passed a law for the block at E2. Once it's 6 o'clock, there's a complete close down to both essential and non-essential commodities. But during the day, we allow only essentials, that's petroleum products and food, to come into our state. Outside that, no one is allowed to come in. This bridge is a place where even the Governor Center for Southern Ayage himself has spent a night there trying to ensure that we can protect this bridge and keep our people safe. It's a lot of work. Especially the state is investing a lot of money to keep the border secure. We've called on the federal government to come in and help us several times, and we're still hopeful that they would come in to support us, especially as it concerns the international border in the state. Remember that Cameroon borders the state all the way from Abuja down to Afghanistan.
Indeed, we saw pictures of the governor spending the night at the two-bridge boundary with Akwa Ibom State. We're hoping that he might, or he would continue to press on the issue of sensitization, on the effect and impact of COVID-19. But I'll move over to Kogi State now. I am sure the people of Kogi State are as anxious as those in affected states, because you never just know when it might come your way. How is the state government managing the issue of fear, rumor, and fake news so as to stop people from engaging in practices that might endanger their lives and escalate anxiety?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's the responsibility of the State Ministry of Information and Communication, as well as the Ministry of Health. We've been sensitizing, we've been informing and enlightening our people. We've been doing daily briefings to let the people have updates of what we are doing. And the State Squadron Committee against COVID-19 has also been engaging in daily briefings. So our people are well informed. So when they hear of those rumors coming from corners that want COVID-19 to be spread to all the states of the Federation, our people understand better.
Let me stay with you, Honorable Commissioner for Information. I know we have talked about it, the issue of what has transpired, or what transpired between Kogi State and NCDC. Or what is the status as of now? What do we know?
About what?
About your, well, I wouldn't describe it as a face-off, but the directive for NCDC officials to undergo quarantine before coming to assist your state in containing a likely infection of COVID-19. Are you willing to accept assistance from the NCDC, or perhaps what criteria or conditions are you setting before NCDC and its team can come into Kogi State? Has that changed, or you're insisting on your position?
We are ready to accept help from any agency, organization that can help strengthen our preparedness for COVID-19. We want to defend the well-being and health of our people, and we would take help and accept help from any genuine helper. They came into the States, and the governor told them that they are welcomed and that he was ready to work with them. But they refused to follow their own protocols. So it wasn't a disagreement between the state government and NCDC, so to say, but a disagreement between NCDC and their own protocols. So we would expect them to come back to strengthen our efforts here but also they will have to follow the protocols. We didn't set these rules, they did.
Dr. Beta Edu, I would ask you the same question I just asked the Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, about and how to manage fear, rumor, and fake news. How have you been contending with all of that in Cross River State?
I think when the information is out and people are sensitized, you have to deal less with all of those drama. For me, we continue to tell our people through every means possible on how they can prevent it, what they should look out for, and whom to call when there is any suspected case. And so our people have gradually understood how to go beyond and above this. In time past, we've had situations where you just hear the scare, this place has someone who is infected, no name, no number, no address, nothing. But gradually all of that has fizzled out. Our people are more confident in what the state government is doing, and they are able to respond appropriately when they hear such things.
Or did you co-opt the civil society into efforts on sensitization in Cross River State? And how exactly is that working out for you?
One of our strongest points. We started very, very early. We sensitized people both at the rural areas, hard to reach areas, and indeed everywhere. We did a lot of work around that, and we'll continue to sensitize them. I believe that when people are informed, it will be difficult to misinform them, it will be difficult to confuse them, it will be difficult to peddle false rumors, and we would continue to have our sensitization. Everyone is together at the same page on the fight against COVID-19, and it's our collective effort and the grace of God that has helped us travel thus far.
Commissioner Information, Kogi State, I'll move over to you now, and please give us a sense of what the feelers you have been getting from the field in terms of the people's reaction to some of your efforts in preparing them for the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, give us a sense of the general feeling and ambience you get from the people.
I think the people are very happy with the efforts of the state government at containing the spread of the virus. It's working fine. The web link of the state has been visited by over 250,000 users, and we have been in touch with our people. I think they are very happy with what is happening, and they are so much aware of their responsibilities in ensuring they don't contract the virus. So I think the general feeling is great.
Dr. Beta, your principal, Governor Ayade, has a background in microbiology and environmental microbiology. How has that helped boost your knowledge and appreciation as a state now and a community on how to manage this whole issue of coronavirus in Nigeria?
I think my governor has just been exceptional. He's brought his ingenuity, his selflessness, his his professional intelligence, sector-specific intelligence into play in this response. There's one governor who sits through the situation room. It's one governor who follows the street rep every other minute. There's one governor who has been part of the task force, even though I'm the chairman of the task force. He would always listen. He would give the best of ideas. He would give his contributions. He's always hands-on, and he's leading from the front, and we're very proud of his proactive nature since this whole COVID-19 came on board. I'm sure you've heard my governor. He's also spoken in different forums on what the COVID-19 is and how he believes states can approach it. We've had to make defense in several forums through several mediums just to say, look, scientifically, this is right, this is wrong. Even when Nigeria does not accept what he's saying, at the end of the day, we still get back to the other point.
Commissioner for Health, Cross River State, Dr. Beta Edu, and Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, Kingsley Farwell, I want to thank you both for coming on Insight. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
From COVID-19 free states in Nigeria, we move on to our people and communities that managing the direct and indirect consequences of the pandemic. The coronavirus pandemic has upended the world as we know it, and most families are feeling the brunt, with parents and kids adjusting to school closures, working remotely, and physical distancing. All in all, it's a lot to navigate for most families that I know. We thought to get a glimpse of how families are coping at this time, and we caught up with the Oche family here in Life Camp Abuja. Let's bring you that interview. Mr. and Mrs. Oche, and of course all the members of the family, thank you indeed for agreeing to share your experiences with us. 5 weeks ago, you were the subject of a news report here on the NTA, which focused on how families were adjusting to the lockdown at that time. Well, compare that time and now, and I will start with you, Mrs. Oche. Please tell me what has changed for you personally since the lockdown was relaxed.
Because in my own section of work, we're still locked down, where our family business were into aviation and tourism services. And of course, we know that aviation and tourism is a good hit in this situation. So we're still locked down, really at home, this I must say. The only thing I have done is to have gone out to top up the things we had at home before. What we had before was to last us for like 6 weeks. And of course, we've been at home now for 7 weeks. So last Saturday, I was able to go out to the market to get one or two things. Then another thing I did was to also try to pay our staff their salary. But I tried not to get into the bank. I wrote an instruction and begged my account officer to help us sort it out, because I don't do online banking. It's only my small personal salary account. That's where I do my online banking from. So it was on my own. I exhausted all I had there. So really, we're still on time here, because what are we going out there to do? Nothing is happening in our own sector. So nothing to do out there. So we're still all in the house. I and my husband were both business people. And in our own section of business, like I said, nothing is working yet. So we're still here at home and praying that the virus should just go, so that we can get back our lives.
Indeed, that's our prayer across Nigeria. Mr. Oche, I'll come to you now. What has changed for you personally as well since the partial easing of the lockdown?
Nothing really, like she said, nothing really much, not too much really. Because the only thing that eased up is people are free to move about and the like. But the economy is still shut down.
Indeed. I look at you and it's clear you have a large family. I mean, I can literally see the size of the family as I look at you. One of the good sides to what is playing out currently across the world is the increase in family bonding. Mr. and Mrs. Oche, what kind of questions do the kids ask you? I mean, they are all at home about the coronavirus pandemic. And are you open and totally honest in your answers to them when they ask you these questions? And does it make them feel afraid?
Of course, I'm telling the youngest, it's always asking all sorts of questions, especially about this. In fact, the other day he was asking me, what's the number now in Nigeria? What's the number in the world? How come it's not reducing? So what is going to happen to us? Are we going to remain inside the house? Of course, I told him so that for now we have to be inside the house until the world heals. I tried to let him know and show him on the fact that I have not done things, that place where they see the figures. They're doing NTA. I also put it to show him, I think you can see the figures for Nigeria. I think that the Nigeria was the day we had about 500 and something recovery and 3,932. That was the other day he was asking me that I have to be placed to him. Somehow they are also scared, but they know that, of course, they are scared of going out, because I have told them that if you go out, you don't know what will happen. So they are not at home and they are not scared at home, because their mom is here, dad is here, and they have their cousins and their brother. Of course, his brother is me, the one that asks questions, because you see his brother, their cousins and all, everybody is here. So we're not missing anything. We're happy together, all of us.
Oche, I'm sure you get questions as well, like your wife does. You're the man. Men are known to be macho, and sometimes they are not. They don't come all out fronts and up front with answers to difficult questions. They would rather the women attend or answer such questions. Have you been faced with such situation since you've been at home? I was actually talking to Mr. Oche now. I was wondering if he gets just as much difficult questions like you get, and whether or not he's upfront and honest with his answers to the kids.
Most of them ask me, but most times they're already gotten their information from the internet. So they just need now.
Let me ask your 20-year-old this question. I understand you have a 20-year-old in the house there. I'm sure you miss school and your friends as well. How difficult has it been for you as an adult realizing the magnitude of the health challenge we have on our hands?
It's been very difficult realizing the magnitude of the health challenge, because obviously people out there are getting sick and people are dying. So coming to face that reality as a person, especially someone who is in the healthcare sector, it can be very challenging and difficult. And also, life as we know it has changed. Our daily routine has completely changed. So we have to adjust to everything. It's been difficult, but it's been fine. We've been doing well so far. So.
Great. I'll pick the younger kids now, one at a time. I'll start with the one sitting on the lap of the dad now, Mr. Oche. Tell me about, tell me how much you've missed school and your friends in school and classes. I'll begin with the one on the dad's lap. Yes, please, you. Okay, I'll go to your brother then. I'll quickly move on to your brother sitting beside the mom, in between the dad and the mom. How about you? How much have you missed school so far? Are you still missing school and your friends? Okay, so let's quickly move on to the one after the mom. Sitting to the right of the mom. Tell me a bit of how you have been able to use the visual learning experience. How has it been for you, learning from home this time?
Well, not been too bad. I get to see my classmates and all my friends. And I would say that I'm amazing because during the summer, you don't get to see school. And also, the online classes are not bad.
Okay, so I'll talk to the young ladies behind your parents. There are a couple of you out there. I think I see like 3 of you. I'll just take you one at a time and very quickly too. Tell me how much it has been for you, the experience of, in the first place, we had the shelter at home, shelter in place, I beg your pardon, where we all had to stay at home for a couple of weeks. How was that experience for you, and coming out of that experience, are there lessons you've learned? Any of you can answer, really.
But for now, we're not going to CDS, doing biometrics. So they asked us to stay back at home for some time before they ease the lockdown.
Okay. Okay, I'll come back to your parents now, Mrs. Oche. I know you're at the receiving end of the cry for food. In most families that we've visited this period or we've spoken to, we notice that it's practically the same everywhere. The struggle for food, families having to realign and readjust how they either ration or manage their stock that they have at home. How have you been able to cope in that regard?
Okay, coming to ration rationing. I am not rationing food for them in the house, yeah? But then we are managing it. And the way we manage it is try to eat at the same time. We do our normal things 3 times a day. But then if you see no kids now, they always ask for one thing or the other. So luckily for we still have some Ribena and biscuits and other snacks left in the house. In fact, one of my parents here, Veronica, she knows how to make popcorn and other things. And even Evangel, all of us. So sometimes we make those snacks and we don't keep aside in case when you feel you want something else that you can chew, you can get in the feed and chew. But so far, so good. Like I said, I stocked up the house the first time with a lot of things, which I have gone to replenish again. So for the only thing I can say for sure that has worked well, gone well in this house is the aspect of the fact that we have enough food to eat in the house.
Okay.
Today. But I don't think what we have to keep this thing continuous in the next 2-3 months. But for now, we're not rationing food, but we're managing whatever we have. And we still share for people because a lot of people are hungry, really. Every day I wake up to my phone, I see messages from friends, I need this, I need that. And of course, I can't really watch somebody hungry. So I still try as much as possible to extend whatever I can extend to next door.
Mr. Oche, I'm sure you're aware, and in the events that you do not know, your story is similar to that of thousands of families across the country, hundreds of thousands, I dare say. How financially difficult has this period been, or rather, how financially difficult has it been managing a family of this size during this period? I'm sure it hasn't been a piece of cake for you, or has it?
This is the network service of the NTA. We now join our outside broadcast crew.
With a dapper suit there, I thought I was an investment banker. Timmy Silva, Minister of State, you are welcome. Stop them, please, come right in. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I think my role is just to talk about how this place was, how it came about. At the beginning, the COVID-19 was a Chinese problem and later became an American problem on March 15th. Since then, it has become a global problem. In the second week in March, I was on my way back after, for those who do not know, we provide 1 out of every 5 Nigerians with electricity. So looking and working on everyone went to Germany to try and resolve the Siemens issue. Coming back, I was isolated and I was kept in quarantine. For the men here who are married, I guess we all know what isolation means. The day you get married, you get isolated. But then we all learned the new word, quarantine. Quarantine simply means you're kept in a place and you're in contact with anybody. In that period, you learn what humanity is. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're all seated here to celebrate humanity. First of all, I want to acknowledge all those Nigerians who gathered together in this period to feed the less privileged. Please give them a big round of applause. Because we saw real humanity in Nigerians. For those of you who called your cousins, even if it was 1,000 naira, 500 naira, we thank you very much. Because these gave sanity and brought back love and kindness, which Nigerians sometimes think we don't have. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1985, I was a student in University of Lagos. I was in my first year and we had a show. We were bringing in Fela Anikulapo Kuti. I had no idea what media was all about. But then we were told if we were going to do this, we needed to publicize it. I went to a company then called This News, and it was called This Week. I walked in and there was a gentleman there who just described someone else as dapper suit, wearing a dapper suit. And I said to him, I'm a student, first year, University of Lagos, we cannot publicize this because we do not have money. This gentleman said to me, go and see, he had a colleague there called Arnold Ekwe. See Arnold, we will give you all the publicity. Ladies and gentlemen, that gentleman was Unduka Obaigbeda. And ever since then, I don't just call him my godfather, I call him my big brother, and we're all family. When we made the phone call to say we needed to use this place, Unduka said, why didn't you call me earlier? I've been waiting for this call. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us thank the chairman of this day, Unduka, because like the FCT minister confirmed, there are a lot of places we went. Some of them refused us. Some of them looked at COVID-19 as something that would destroy their businesses. But Unduka said, it doesn't matter. This is for humanity. Today, we celebrate humanity. I also want to thank the FCT minister who made this possible, because everywhere we march together looking for where we will put something. In the past, anytime the FCT minister called me, I would be scared, because the other major calls I got from him was, Tokwe, you have this tank somewhere, we have to demolish it, sorry. And when he says it in such a nice way that you cannot fight. So we always called him the man who delivered the bad messages in a nice way. But FCT minister, we thank you, we celebrate you. As time went along, we got to meet those that mattered, because for us it was just an effort. I want to thank the Minister of Health. I want to thank his team, the NCDC. I want to thank my own partners, NMPC, who funded this and financed this. I want to thank the CBN governor who kept on saying, whatever you guys need, we're behind you. I want to thank everybody here, but then I would pick specific people, because if I don't even mention the SGF, I'm wrong. We had goods delivered to Lagos. You know what the SGF said? Tokwe, if we have to go and carry it, we'll carry it. He gave us a plane to go and pick it. SGF, thank you very much. I also want to thank my ministers of internal affairs and information who visited here and made sure they were here to critique every time. I also want to thank my director of COVID, who we had so many lunches and dinners together with the last person we stood up to honor, and may his soul rest in peace in London. Thank you for the job well done. For all of us here, we will not be here without the health ministry, and even my Minister of State of Health, who every time we usually compete with who is going to wear the best suit. But every time he only wears them when he travels abroad. And I've told him more often than any, he should stop wearing his native attire and look the guy he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I also acknowledge my Minister of State of Education, who I have not seen for over 30 years, and I'm happy today we celebrate this together. Well, he does his hand like this. The Minister of State for FCT, yesterday we launched the center with CCEC, because I'm also a member of the Ministerial Committee for COVID in Abuja. And every time the minister said, we need more places, she nodded her head. I am happy, Hajia, Doctor, to say we have delivered this place today. Now, this is not about us just sitting down and saying this person, that person. I also want to thank individuals who put in their efforts. In this day, we had a young girl who was running up and about here. She was working for the chairman, Unduka, and every time she always said, sir, what can I do? She donated chairs, plastic chairs. It's not the amount, it is the spirit by which she did so. Fawzi Ali Mohammed, we thank you very much. We want to thank Dr. Madu, who coordinated all this. We want to thank all those who have made this happen. We want to thank all those who will make bigger things happen. As we serve humanity, I, on behalf of the Sahara Group, the Sahara family, would say thank you for the honor, thank you for the opportunity, thank you, my Honorable Minister Timi Silva, for allowing all of us to not go haywire, but at least to control our expense while we deliver this place. God bless Nigeria, God bless all of you, and God bless the next person who will do something bigger than this. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Tokwe. If we want a safe environment, we must recognize
the Minister of Environment, Abubakar Umar. And of course, if you want to sit on your land, you must recognize Dr. Ramatu Tijani Aliyu, the power behind the minister. And of course, we have the national coordinator of the Presidential Task Force, who has been working day and night. Not many know that as he toiled and attended conferences every day, he lost his father. May his soul rest in peace. And I also like to recognize Dr. Abasi, the Nigerian microbiologist and biotechnology scientist who founded 54Gene. He has raised quite a few $1 million with people like Bill Gates investing in it, and he has built the molecular testing capacity here and is ramping up everywhere. We have the solutions in Nigeria. Let us hear him. Is one of his investors who backed him financially, private equity firm Eric Idiahi. So we have everybody here. So let us invite very quickly the managing director of CC and EC for a goodwill message. Then we can ramp up the process. Thank you very much. Do you need translation?
Your Excellency, Secretary to Government of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Minister of FCT, and all Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Michael Jiang, the MD of CCCC Nigeria. I'm honored to be here, witness the handover of this storm treatment center. As is known to all, Nigeria is under the disruption caused by the COVID pandemic. Up to now, more than 4,000 cases have been recorded. The construction of this treatment is one of the important measures implemented by the government, which should serve as a critical supplement to the nation's medical resources. I hereby, on behalf of CCCC, express my sincere congratulations to the federal government and extend my compliments to all the companies like Sahara, NMPC, that made great efforts to the successful completion of this treatment center. I'm honored also because CCCC is one of the companies. Upon receiving the request from the government of Nigeria on 29 March 2020, CCCC immediately mobilized a site team comprising of experienced designers, engineers, and workers, and commenced the site work without any conditions. Overcoming series of difficulties caused by the lockdown in Abuja, especially with the help of Nigeria government, we managed to procure most of our construction materials and PPEs for our from local market, meeting the demand of site construction and our workers. Eventually, CCCC has completed construction works within the shortest time, which including the ground reconstruction, installation of partitions, and toilet, disinfecting rooms, water supply system, and etc. I'm also glad to see the completion of this treatment today. As you may know, CCCC, as a responsible contractor, we're always willing to make our own efforts to support this nation fighting against the COVID pandemic. Thank you. Thank you all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ECC helped with most of the internal work, but the entire environment also, and some of the infrastructure was backed by COVID. I know. Backed by COVID. COVID is led by the SDF, but also driven by the CBN governor, who is going to speak here today. Mr. Governor of Central Bank, our privilege. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Nduka. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, the Honorable Minister for FCT, Alhaji Mohammed Bello, the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Yahanire, and other very distinguished Honorable Ministers here present, the GMD of NNPC, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to participate in the launch of this day Dome COVID-19 testing, tracing, and treatment center in our federal capital city. I'd like to commend the management of This Day Media Group and their partners for putting together the team that set up this magnificent care center, which encompasses testing, tracing, and treatment to help in boosting Nigeria's capacity to adequately contain the spread of COVID-19 in the Federal Capital Territory and beyond. As we all are aware, since the onset of COVID-19 in December 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has taken all necessary measures to contain the spread. COVID-19 has had an unprecedented effect on the global economy, impacting all nations, big and small. Institutions like the International Monetary Fund have pronounced that the effect on the global economy will be akin to the slowdown experienced during the Great Depression of the 1930s. The global growth is expected to contract by -3% in 2020, down from a positive growth rate of 2.9% in 2019, which is effectively a contraction of 6% globally. In Nigeria, our economy is exposed to triple shocks: a supply shock, a demand shock, and revenue shock. Permit me to state that we are currently faced with a public health and economic crisis of unprecedented proportions, driven primarily by the 55% drop in crude oil prices between January and May 2020. This unparalleled shock requires that the federal and state governments, along with organized private sector, work together to address these challenges in order to preserve lives and restore economic activity and reset the economy of our dear country. In a bid to cushion the effects of COVID-19 on the Nigerian economy, the CBN has implemented several initiatives, such as the 50 billion intervention facility for small and medium enterprises, those affected by COVID-19. In addition to the 1 trillion naira facility for firms operating in the agri and manufacturing sectors. We're also working with financial institutions to enable the continuous flow of loans and credit to viable businesses, while putting in place provisions such as moratoriums and restructuring of existing loans under our interventions that are provided to businesses. These measures are intended to cushion the effects of the slowdown in economic activity on our businesses. I wish to acknowledge, however, that our ability to restore the growth of our economy is dependent on how we address the public health crisis brought on by COVID-19. It is in realization of this fact that the CBN recently launched a 100 billion naira healthcare intervention fund. Practitioners in the pharmaceutical and healthcare sectors will be able to access finance at single-digit interest rates through this fund. Our objective is to improve the capacity of our healthcare system to address emerging public health challenges. Furthermore, in order to encourage greater research and development in Nigeria of drugs and vaccines that would help prevent the spread of this virus, the Central Bank of Nigeria is developing a framework under which grants and long-term facilities will be provided to researchers, science institutions, and biotechnology firms to develop Nigerians' homegrown vaccines. Needless to state that if we wait for foreign countries to develop their own vaccines, we will be the last in the queue to receive curative remedies for our teeming population. The CBN today challenges Nigerian scientists at home and abroad to go back to their laboratories and develop Nigerians' homegrown vaccines. Once validated by the health authorities, the CBN will step in and do the needful for the sake of our 200 million Nigerians now confronted by COVID-19. Our inability to accurately predict the extent to which coronavirus could spread and how long it will last requires that we build sufficient capacity within our healthcare system in order to contain the spread of this virus, both in all states and in all our vicinity, and preserve the lives of vulnerable Nigerians. This requires that we all come together to support the work of the Presidential Task Force in its determination to save lives and stem the pandemic. It is in this regard that I'd like to commend the Nigerian private sector who have come together, either under the auspices of these media groups or under the coalition, the CACOVID 2019, to support the government by raising funds to procure needed isolation centers, medical equipment, and etc. So far, the CACOVID has raised over 27 billion to fund these initiatives. These donations are being used to build well-equipped isolation centers across the 36 states of the Federation. The D-Day Dome Testing, Tracing, and Treatment Center, being launched today, represents a part of the support being provided by the CACOVID Alliance. These measures will result in the addition of close to 4,000 hospital beds across the country and will serve as a significant boost towards our efforts at containing the spread of COVID-19. So far, CACOVID has equipped and handed over isolation centers in Rivers, Enugu, Kwara, Ondo, and Borno states. It is expected that all other isolation centers will be handed over in other states of the country, including FCT, by latest May 23rd, 2020. In a bid to complement the efforts of the government in providing palliatives to those affected by the containment measures put in place to prevent the spread of the virus. CACOV is also providing in-kind assistance in the form of food items to indigent Nigerians across the 36 states of the Federation. These efforts are noteworthy as members of the Nigerian private sector have stood up to be counted when it mattered most to our dear country. I'd like to once again thank members of our alliance for their commitment in meeting the needs of vulnerable Nigerians, especially at this extraordinary time. I'd like to conclude my remarks by thanking President Muhammadu Buhari, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, ably led by the Secretary of Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, the Federal Ministry of Health, led by Dr. Sajay Hanire and Senator Olarunibe Mamora, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, and our health workers who are all in the front line, working day and night to help prevent the spread of this virus. I must also salute the work of the Minister of the FCT Administration, Malam Muhammad Musa Bello, the Minister of State Ramatu Tijani Aliyu, for effective leadership in containing COVID-19 in FCT. Your efforts are indeed commendable, and I can assure that the Central Bank of Nigeria will continue to work with you on solutions that can help our nation address this public health challenge. I thank you all for your attention. Good morning.
So may we now invite the calm but very effective law and order person, Muhammad Musa Bello.
The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and all the distinguished members of the Presidential Task Force, the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Sagio Hanire, and other distinguished ministers present here, the Governor of the Central Bank, the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, the Permanent Secretaries of the Federal Ministry of FCT, as well as the Ministry of Health and other Permanent Secretaries present here, our very distinguished Chairman of the This Day Media and Technology Group, Chief Nduka Obiagina, and my very dear friend, Mr. Tomitope Sonubi of Sahara Group, and all the other distinguished persons and personalities and individuals that have supported what we are commissioning here today. Members of the diplomatic corps, our royal father, Magajungarin Sokoto, and a very distinguished Nigerian and citizen of Abuja, Dr. Aliyu Modibo Umar, a former minister of the FCT, and indeed the chairman of the FCT Ministerial Committee on COVID-19, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the residents of Abuja, our federal capital city, as well as the entire residents of the FCT, it's my honor, on behalf of all of them, to thank the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and his members, as well as all those that were earlier recognized, for providing this facility, which there is no doubt will go a very long way in adding the bed spaces available within the territory for us to be able to use as treatment and isolated centers. Already with this facility, the FCT has almost reached a target of about 1,000 bed spaces. Within the FCT administration already, we have in existence 3 treatment and isolation centers, one of which was just handed over to us yesterday at Idu area of Abuja, which has a capacity of 500 beds. And all this happened because of the very good relationship and support we receive from the private sector. And on behalf of all of us in Abuja, we thank all those who have supported us and also continue to appeal for more support so that by the grace of God, give another few weeks, we'll be done with this COVID-19 thing. Once more, thank you very much, the SGF and your able team, as well as our private sector participants and supporters as indicated on the, behind me. And I thank you all. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. You may think that there's no risk in managing COVID. The health minister of Iran had a problem, different ministers at the front line. But you have a calm and calculated Minister of Health who takes all the punches and he shows no emotion. May I invite Dr. Usagi Ehanire to speak to you.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on the response to COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, the Honorable Minister of Federal Capital Territory, my brother and friend, Mohamed Musa Bello, members of the Presidential Task Force, Honorable Ministers here present, the Chief Executive Officers of the organizations that I will mention, beginning with my brother and friend, Mr. Nduka Baibena, of this day technology, this day and Arise technology, the Central Bank of Nigeria, NNPC, the AFC, CCECC, other members of the CACOVID group, permanent secretaries, directors, royal fathers, ladies and gentlemen. It is with both delight and relief that I am standing here today addressing this gathering of eminent stakeholders in and outside the Nigerian health sector who have demonstrated such extraordinary commitment by joining hands with government in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in what can actually be likened to nothing less than a war. This handing over ceremony of the This Day Treatment and Isolation Center to the Federal Ministry of Health and the Federal Capital Territory Administration is a landmark achievement in collaborations between public and private sectors to fight a common enemy and rescue our country and people from the grip of the raving coronavirus disease. The case for all hands to be on deck to tackle the worst single public health emergency of our generation has been well made. The nature of this virus makes the identification and isolation of infected persons and their contacts a public health imperative, the importance of which cannot be overemphasized, and an expedient measure in the fight against this highly infectious pathogen. It is critical for the prevention and control of the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria and globally. During a pandemic like the COVID-19, the high volume of casualties produced within a short time has challenged even the most established health systems in the world by occasioning embarrassing shortages of equipment, bed spaces, and treatment facilities. On global television screens, we have seen otherwise resilient health systems collapse before our eyes. Providing facilities and bed space for isolation and treatment overnight became some of the most vital measures that could be taken to support the health system in infection prevention and control. Prevention of the spread of COVID-19 from one patient to the other, or to healthcare workers and visitors, is critical in limiting the disease progression and flattening the epidemic curve. Since the first confirmed case of COVID-19 was announced on the 27th of February 2020 in Nigeria, there has been a steady surge in the number of cases and the epidemic curve to the extent that as at 11 p.m. yesterday, there were 242 new cases with 4,641 confirmed cases in total, 902 discharged, 150 fatalities recorded, unfortunately, in 34 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. Community transmission that necessitates urgent response is already with us. It is this realization on the side of Nigeria's private sector, who took it upon themselves to rise to the occasion, that brings us at this junction to mention and appreciate the contributions of the coalition against COVID-19, and in connection with the event of today, the Sahara Energy Group and the This Day Media and Technology Group for this donation of this day dome, a temporary treatment and isolation center. The center has not just added to the number of available beds, but saved the Nigerian health sector the anxiety of naming shortages. A lot of work, and when I say a lot of work, I mean brain work and hand work, has gone into this project, a project of converting and repurposing the theater into what you can call a hospital. I know that very well because I followed the various stages of the construction. It is made up of the Sahara Foundation Works and ICU Center, complete with ventilators, X-ray machines, and dialysis. This day, 54 gene testing mobile laboratory, complete with reagents, with scalable 20, which is capable of 20 to 30 tests per day. 200 to 1,000 tests. The This Day 98-room hotel and conference center next door for medical staff, donated for 6 months by our brother who was just mentioned a while ago. The CBN medical grant in direct support to the Federal Ministry of Health and the FCDA for day-to-day management of the isolation center. and also an industrial grade medical incinerator. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all can now understand, this is a fully comprehensive treatment center, professionally designed and equipped and repurposed to meet the pressing demands of the day. As His Excellency the President would say, even if it turns out we don't use it, we are thankful and grateful to have it. This facility was built to the highest quality standards of infectious disease protocols by well-experienced hands. I wish to extend my profound gratitude to the chairman and members of the COVID-19 group. The chair and my colleagues at the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 are thankful for this consideration. We recognize the Chief Executive Officer of Sahara Energy Group, again, the chairman of this day, Media and Technology, the chair of China Civil Engineering and Construction Company, and all the distinguished partners who contributed to the success of today's event. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the high point. For those of you, I'm not sure there are many of you here, who wrote the 1999 Constitution. I was one of them in 1994-95. And one of the things we debated was the French model, having a prime minister and a president, but settled for the SDF. May I invite Marlon Melekiari to invite the SDF. Thank you.
What a great privilege to invite the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. But before I do this, it is needless to say that NMPC is a company owned by all Nigerians, 200 million Nigerians. And we have a primary responsibility to stand with this country and our citizens at any time. One of it is to ensure that we fight this COVID-19 together. And to do this with the support and the guidance of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum, we pulled together the entire industry to bring support to this country and this COVID-19 intervention. One of the many things we did is to bring our partners on the table. And one of our great partners is the Sahara Group, with whom we have many businesses. We have downstream businesses, and we also have upstream businesses. And we should also know that for every oil business in this country, NMPC is a partner. Partner either as a direct equity holder or even a cash contributing partner. Therefore, everything done in this industry is with the support of NMPC. It is coming from the oil and gas industry, and we're proud of it. And for this center, ladies and gentlemen, our profound happiness is that we're part of this. And we're supporting the Sahara Group and all our partners to make sure that this works. And beyond this, ladies and gentlemen, as an industry, we're delivering medical facilities, infrastructure in all states of the Federation, and particularly setting up permanent structures in at least 6 of the geopolitical zones so that these facilities can actually outlive the COVID-19 period, so that it will be of use to the communities post-COVID-19. And in FCT today, the Honorable Minister has alluded to it, the Honorable Minister of Federal Capital, that we have done great. Not just in this center, we have also upgraded one of our facilities to make sure that it can receive COVID-19 patients. We have supported the Abuja University Teaching Hospital with facilities so that it can work. We are also supporting the Honorable Minister to establish another permanent facility in these centers. So overall, Nigerians, we are doing this on your behalf. This is your company. The 200 million Nigerians are shareholders. And of course, the shareholder is represented by Mr. Boss Mustafa. May I invite Mr. Mustafa to come forward? Thank you very much.
think that's a very big responsibility to be a representative of shareholders. Members of the Federal Executive Council, members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, permanent secretaries here gathered, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the group managing director of the NMPC, the chairman and founder of this day group of companies, Mr. Nduka Obwegwana, the managing director of Sahara Group, Mr. Tope Shonobi, all the other partners that have worked assiduously to ensure the realization of this particular facility that we are commissioning today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the diplomatic corps, your Royal Highnesses, gentlemen of the press, I am delighted to be here today to commission this day dome testing, treatment, and isolation center. This 300-bed facility with a 54-gene laboratory is a private sector-driven initiative donated by a consortium of like-minded partners powered by the Sahara Energy Group and the This Day Media and Technology Group. Other key players include the CACOVID, the AFC, CCECC, NMPC, and the Central Bank, and a retinue of several others. The coronavirus is the most important global public health challenge of our generation. It is ravaging our health and our wealth the world over, and Nigeria is not an exception. Between January 30th, 2020, when it was declared a pandemic, and today, the world has recorded a total of 4.2 million confirmed cases, 287,000 about fatalities, and about 1.5 million recoveries spread across 230 countries. In Africa, the statistics show that 62,000 confirmed cases, about 2,200 fatalities have been recorded across 53 countries. Nigeria recorded her first index case on 27th of February 2020, and as at May 11, 2020, total number of cases recorded stood at 4,641, with 902 discharged and 152 fatalities. The modeling projection by experts indicates that this number will continue to rise before the curve begins to flatten. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought a reawakening to both government and the private sector to collaborate in the injection of a much-needed investment into our healthcare system. The COVID-19 has totally overwhelmed even the best of health systems in the world, and that serves all developing nations a powerful notice to wake up. Today, we are witnessing the realization of the synergy with the commissioning of this facility, which is designed to accommodate 300 beds and is scalable to 500. The speed and commitment demonstrated by the partners that developed this infrastructure is a call to other private sector entities to also get involved in the development of public interest facilities. The Presidential Task Force advocates strongly that lessons to be drawn from COVID-19 should therefore revolve around development, future planning, consensus building, collaboration, and partnerships. Government cannot always do it alone. We must all be involved. I have been informed that this facility also has an intensive care unit for treatment of the most severe cases of COVID-19. This would go a long way in providing care for the growing number of cases, especially for levels 1 and 2 categories. I am also happy to note that this is one of the facilities into which care for persons living with disabilities who might get infected has been incorporated. The Presidential Task Force continues to assess and review all relevant policies and protocols so that our actions and decisions are implemented in the most effective ways and the nation can properly wage the war against COVID-19. In order to take the development of infrastructure to the grassroots, emphasis is now being placed on community ownership, guidance, acceptance, and implementation. The Presidential Task Force therefore calls on all other corporate bodies and public-spirited individuals to take up the challenge of providing critical support infrastructure in the rural communities as Nigeria has entered community transmission phase of the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to develop health infrastructure, the Presidential Task Force also wishes to underscore its total commitment to research into a cure for the COVID-19 disease. We are actively encouraging all our institutes and researchers to step forward for a validation of their inventions, discoveries, etc., that can help humanity bring this pandemic to an end quickly. Again, we urge our corporate bodies to show sufficient interest in the areas of research and medicine. I wish at this point to extend the deepest appreciation of His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to every group of persons and corporate entities that have contributed to making this center a reality, especially Mr. Tope Shonube, Managing Director of Sahara Energy Group, and Nduka Obegona of the This Day Media and Technology Group. I also commend the Honorable Ministers of the Federal Capital Territory and the Ministry of Health for paying attention and for facilitating the delivery of this magnificent facility. Finally, I consider it important to reiterate our appeal to all Nigerians to please continuously comply with the guidelines, especially in observing physical and social distancing, regular washing of hands, wearing of masks and coverings in public, obey the rules regarding the curfew, avoid large gatherings, and if necessary, stay at home. You must take personal responsibility for your actions to stop the spread of the virus. On this note, it is now my singular honor and privilege to commission the testing, treatment, and isolation center along with the 54-gene laboratory to the glory of God and the good of humanity. May all those who come in here find healing, and may the Almighty God protect all frontline workers that will deliver care here and everywhere in the world. I thank you for listening, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I end by thanking you, sir, and your partners for this wonderful facility that you put in place. You have succeeded as a businessman, but today you have demonstrated your heart of compassion and love for mankind. And may God reward you and reward the efforts of your establishment and those of your partners. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Mr. SDF. People who are rushing there, there's been a program change. Because we are living in a regime of social distancing, we cannot have pressmen following and rushing with anybody to inspect anywhere. I hope you understand. So all the media guys, leave there right now. Out, 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 out. What we are going to do, those who are lucky to have a shot will share it with others who cannot. Okay? But we're not going there yet. We're going to finish this program. We're going to first go to the 54 gene laboratory. And may I invite Dr. Abasi to speak very quickly. Take 3 or 4 or 5 ministers to the laboratory. And then we'll come back and in groups of 5, now we're going to go into the medical center. Journalists, please stay out. We'll go in groups of 5. We will share the video with all of you. Thank you very much. This is a different age.
The Secretary to the Federal Government of Nigeria, the Minister for Health, who oversees my sector, and of course the sector of all Nigerians today during COVID-19 issues, all ministers and all dignitaries here present, and all protocols duly observed. My name is Dr. Abasi Enebong, and I'm the CEO of 54 Gene. Last year, we believed that Nigeria could actually, not just Nigeria, but Africa could actually begin to lead in research and development in a way that perhaps we could have drugs and vaccines produced and discovered by Nigerians and African scientists. And so it was last year that I launched my company 54 Gene, and in a year's period we've been able to garner the interest of the global investment community, and we've been able to raise about $20 million to further that objective. As a result of this push, we started recruiting Nigerian scientists in our laboratories in Lagos last year. And so when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, we already had very highly qualified molecular scientists, and we had a fully functioning molecular diagnostics lab. For us, it was a matter of how do we use our resources and what we have to provide some respite in Nigeria and to work with both public and other private institutions to try to improve how we tested for COVID-19 and perhaps how we get to understand the disease. I'm happy to say that today we've been able to launch molecular diagnostics labs in Lagos, Kano, Ogun State, now Abuja, and shortly in Ekiti State. And the goal of all of this, of course, is that we try to understand this disease that's ravaging all of us. And the sooner we're able to understand it, the sooner we are able to know the measures we can put in place, and then we can commend society. We are happy that the testing aspect is going on well, and we're beginning to look at how we can partner with other institutions and groups in Nigeria to conduct research that perhaps will lead us to understand how this disease affects us in Nigeria. Without much ado, I would like to take you to our lab. The reason we have a mobile diagnostics lab is because of infrastructural challenges. And so we came up with a unique solution where we can ship out labs all over the country utilizing alternative power. The labs come with a fully trained staff and ready to run COVID-19 tests. So if you will oblige me, sirs, I will lead you to the lab. Thank you.
Thank you, the SGF, the Minister of Health, and a few ministers, CBN governor. Just go to the lab. Just see the lab. Yeah. Please, no cars there. Go ahead. No, don't worry. Just to see the lab. No aids, please, eh? The aids should stay back.
The booklet,
I'm coming. Groups of five, please. Group of five. Group of five. Yeah. Groups of five, please. Yes, yes. You can see the lady in the PPE. She can come out. Yeah. I know. Social distancing, please. Photograph with the ministers. Facing this way. Social distancing, please. Facing that side, sir. Yes, sir. Just ministers and CBN governor. Social distancing, please. After that, we'll pass them. Very much. We turn right, Minister of State for Health, Minister of Palliatives, Minister of Environment, 5 of you with the SGF, please. Minister of Social Development. No crowds, please. All the media, please. No crowds. Please, 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 go back. No crowd. Okay. That's enough. Just distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Can I make a request?
I hereby, on behalf of the President of the Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, commission hostility for all the mankind to the glory of God.
The following guidelines announced by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 are effective from 4th May 2020 in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun states. For public spaces, the following are mandatory: improvised face masks, temperature checks, hand washing facilities and hand sanitizers, physical distance of at least 2 meters, no sporting activities and mass gathering. On travel, these are prohibited: passenger flights, interstate travel except essential services, movement of agro products and petroleum products. Note, there will be mandatory supervised isolation of returnees for at least 14 days. For markets and offices, neighborhood markets are to open 3 times a week from the hours of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Banks and financial services are to open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Government offices are open only to staff from grade level 14 to 17 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Corporate offices and private sector are open to business from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Schools, churches, mosques, clubs, bars and gardens remain closed till further notice. COVID-19 is real. Take responsibility and stay safe.